Damon Fletcher had negotiated trade deals with 17 alien species, survived 2 civil wars, and once talked his way out of being served as dinner to a hive mind that considered eloquence a delicacy. But nothing in his diplomatic training had prepared him for Thesha. The conference room on station, Meridian, hummed with the usual pre-negotiation energy. Holographic displays floated above the central table, showing proposed trade routes between human space and the Kelvorian cluster. The Kelvorians themselves were striking creatures, tall and willowy, with skin that shifted through subtle shades of violet and blue, depending on their emotional state. Their ambassador, Rin, stood at the head of their delegation. His robes flowing like liquid mercury, Damon adjusted his collar and tried to focus on the grain export projections. But his attention kept drifting to the young Kelvorian at the far end of their group. She looked barely out of university, her skin flickering between curious pink and excited yellow as she stared at everything with wide, luminous eyes. Unlike the other Kelvorians, who maintained perfect diplomatic posture, she kept leaning forward, backward, sideways, as if trying to see the room from every possible angle. When her gaze locked onto Damon, her skin flushed a deep indigo. Ambassador Rin droned on about agricultural quotas. Captain Bridget Moore, the station security chief, stood by the door looking as enthusiastic as someone watching paint dry in a vacuum. The other human delegates nodded politely, tablets glowing in their hands. Then Thesha raised her hand. Rin paused mid-sentence, his skin rippling with surprise. "Yes, Thesha? I have a question for the humans." Her voice was soft, but carried clearly through the translator nodes embedded in the ceiling. "It is about biology." Damon's colleague, a gray-haired economist named Patterson, smiled encouragingly. "Of course. We're happy to answer any questions." Thesha's skin brightened to almost white with what Damon was learning to recognize as intense focus. "I have been reading human literature to prepare for this meeting, specifically your reproductive biology studies, and I discovered something extraordinary." "Oh no," Damon thought. "You have no mating season," Thesha continued, her words tumbling out faster now. "Your species is reproductively active throughout your entire solar cycle. Is this accurate?" The room fell silent. Patterson's smile froze. Rin's skin flashed through 3 shades of mortified purple. Captain Moore's hand moved subtly toward her sidearm, as if checking it was still there for moral support. Damon cleared his throat. "That's technically correct, yes." Thesha stood up, her excitement palpable. "But how do you manage? The biological imperative, the hormonal cascades, the constant availability of compatible partners. How does your society function without descending into chaos?" "We manage just fine," Damon said carefully, very aware that everyone in the room was now staring at him. "Humans have developed complex social structures and personal boundaries that help regulate behavior. But the urge must be overwhelming," Thesha pressed, taking a step closer to the human side of the table. "Among my people, our season lasts only 3 weeks per year. The intensity is barely manageable, even then. You experience this perpetually." Ambassador Rin stood abruptly. "Thesha, this is hardly appropriate for trade negotiations." "But Ambassador, this is critical anthropological data. If we're to engage in long-term partnerships with humans, we must understand their fundamental biological drives. The implications for shared spaces, work environments, social protocols. We're really not that interesting." Damon interrupted, trying to save what was left of the meeting's dignity. "Most humans spend their days working, eating, sleeping, and arguing about sports. It's not nearly as dramatic as you're imagining." Thesha's skin shifted to skeptical orange. "So you're saying that despite having no biological restrictions on reproduction, humans simply choose not to engage in constant mating behavior?" "Yes," Damon said firmly. "Fascinating," Thesha breathed. "The willpower required must be extraordinary. Do you undergo special training? Meditation? Chemical suppressants? We just live our lives, Damon said, feeling his face heat up. Like normal people. But you're not normal, Desha said with complete sincerity. You're biologically exceptional. Your species should be studied extensively. Before Damon could respond, the lights flickered. Captain Moore straightened, her hand now firmly on her weapon. That's not scheduled maintenance. The emergency klaxon started wailing half a second later. The calm, artificial voice of the station's AI filled the room. Security breach detected. Unauthorized vessels docking at ports 7 through 12. All personnel proceed to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. The Calvorian delegates immediately began gathering their materials, skin colors flashing through panic spectrum. Ambassador Rin barked orders in his native language, herding his people toward the exit. Desha, however, moved directly toward Damon. Her skin had shifted to determined red. I should stay with you. For research purposes. To observe how humans handle crisis situations without seasonal biological constraints. Damon stared at her. You want to study me during a station breach? Yes. Your stress response, decision-making processes, survival instincts, all valuable data. An explosion rocked the station. The lights went red. Captain Moore shouted into her unit. All security teams to level 3. We have hostile borders. Repeat, hostile borders. Damon grabbed Visha's arm as another explosion sent them stumbling. If you're staying with me, you follow my orders. Agreed? Her skin flashed bright yellow with excitement. Agreed. This is excellent field research. Great, Damon muttered, pulling her toward the emergency exit as plasma fire echoed down the corridor. Just try not to ask about my reproductive habits while people are shooting at us. I make no promises, Visha replied cheerfully. The maintenance tunnels of Station Meridian were never designed for running battles. Damon hauled Visha around a corner as plasma bolts scorched the metal walls behind them, leaving glowing orange streaks that smelled like burned copper. Emergency lighting cast everything in sick red shadows. Your heart rate has elevated significantly, Visha observed, her skin flickering between analytical blue and excited yellow. Is this a typical human stress response, or is it related to your continuous reproductive readiness? Damon pressed against the wall, catching his breath. It's called adrenaline. Happens when people shoot at you. But does the adrenaline interact with your mating hormones? I've read that human attraction increases during dangerous situations. Something about survival instincts and genetic propagation. Can we maybe discuss this when we're not about to die? Desha tilted her head, utterly calm despite the chaos. You raise an excellent point. Human cognitive prioritization under duress. Do you find threat assessment impaired by romantic considerations? Before Damon could answer, a voice crackled through his unit. Fletcher, you still breathing? It was Lieutenant Jamal Parks, his oldest friend in the security course. Barely. Where are you? Level 2, pinned down near the cargo bays. These pirates aren't your standard raiders. They're organized, well-armed, and they're specifically targeting the Calvorian delegation. What's your position? Damon checked the corridor marker. Maintenance Tunnel J7, heading toward the central hub. Negative. Those routes are compromised. Circle back to the emergency shelters on level 4. And Fletcher? Whatever you do, don't let them get their hands on any Calvorian biosamples. Intel suggests that's what they're after. Desha's skin went pale. The biosamples. Ambassador Rin was carrying our genetic research data. If that falls into pirate hands, what kind of research? Damon asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Calvorian reproductive technology. Our seasonal biology produces certain enzymes that human pharmaceutical companies would pay billions for. Black market value is even higher. Fantastic, Damon muttered. He grabbed her hand and started moving in the opposite direction. New plan. We find your ambassador before the pirates do. They ran through twisting corridors, Lesha keeping pace with surprising grace despite her longer limbs. She kept up a running commentary the entire time. Your decision to prioritize mission objectives over personal safety is admirable. Is this instinctive or learned behavior? Both, Damon panted, vaulting over a collapsed support beam. And your willingness to protect an alien species. Does this stem from your year-round social bonding capacity? Kelvorians only form protective attachments during our season. We call it basic decency. Extraordinary, Lesha breathed. Your species can maintain complex social obligations without hormonal compulsion. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with 3 pirates in dark combat armor. The leader, a scarred human woman with cold eyes, raised her plasma rifle. Well, look what we found. Fletcher, isn't it? A negotiator. Damon raised his hand slowly. Rix, heard you were working the outer rim. This is a long way from your usual territory. Rix smiled without warmth. Special contract. High-value target. Nothing personal. It's always personal when someone shoots at me. Fair point. Rix's gaze shifted to Lesha. The Kelvorian comes with us. You can walk away. Lesha's skin flashed defiant red. I will not. I'm conducting important research on human behavioral patterns. Rix blinked. What? This human specimen is demonstrating fascinating crisis response mechanisms. I need more data. Specimen? Damon muttered. Rix looked genuinely confused. Lady, we're here to kidnap you for ransom and steal your biotech. Maybe save the science project for later? Actually, Damon said, his mind racing. Maybe we shouldn't. Everyone turned to look at him. Lesha's skin shifted to curious yellow. Explain. You want Kelvorian biotech, Damon said to Rix. But you have no idea what you're stealing. That data is encrypted with genetic locks. Only certain Kelvorians can access it, and even then, you need specific environmental conditions. Without proper context, it's worthless. Rix's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing, am I? Damon glanced at Lesha, hoping she'd play along. Tell them about the enzyme degradation. Lesha caught on immediately, her analytical mind spinning into action. Oh yes, Kelvorian reproductive enzymes destabilize within 48 hours outside controlled environments. Temperature variations of more than 2 degrees cause complete molecular breakdown. You'd need a full laboratory setup and constant monitoring by trained specialists. Damon could see Rix calculating, doubt creeping into her expression. Then we take the scientist too. That could work, Damon said carefully. Except Lesha here is a junior researcher. She doesn't have the clearance codes for the high-value compounds. You'd need Ambassador Rin, and he's probably already evacuated. It was a complete lie, but Rix didn't know that. She lowered her rifle slightly. So what are you suggesting? Let us go. We help you get off the station before security locks it down. You avoid a firefight you can't win. We avoid getting shot. Everybody lives to negotiate another day. Rix studied him for a long moment. Finally, she gestured to her team. Stand down. But Fletcher, if I find out you're lying about the biotech being worthless, you'll hunt me down. I know the drill. The pirates backed away, disappearing into a side corridor. Damon waited until their footsteps faded before exhaling. That was too close. You lied very convincingly, Lesha said, her skin bright with admiration. Is deception part of human mating strategy? Do you use falsehoods to appear more capable to potential partners? Sometimes we lie to not get killed. Fascinating. So survival instinct overrides honesty norms. Do human relationships suffer from this tendency toward protective deception? Vesha, I swear. His cum crackled again. Fletcher, status? Captain Moore's voice. Still alive. The pirates are after Kelvorian biotech. We need to secure Ambassador Rin. Already done. He's in the command center with full security detail. But Fletcher, we've got a bigger problem. The pirates planted explosives near the station's life support systems. If those go off, we lose atmosphere in half the station. Damon's blood went cold. Where? Environmental Control, Section 9. We can't get teams there in time. You're closest. Damon looked at Thesha. Her skin had gone pale blue with fear, but her eyes were steady. We need to disarm bombs, he said. You any good with explosives? I'm a biologist, not an engineer. Great. Guess we're improvising. They ran. Environmental Control was a maze of pipes, monitors, and humming machinery that kept Station Meridian breathing. The explosives were easy to spot. 6 sleek devices magnetically clamped to the primary oxygen processors, each one blinking an ominous red countdown. 17 minutes remaining. Tell me you know something about bomb disposal, Damon said, studying the nearest device. Vesha circled the machines, her skin shifting through various shades of concentration. The design is human-made, military-grade, but the timing mechanism appears modified with Kelvorian temporal crystals. See the blue lattice structure? Damon leaned closer. She was right. Thin crystalline veins ran through the device's casing, pulsing with faint light. Why would they use Kelvorian tech? The crystals create quantum timing locks. Makes the bombs nearly impossible to defuse without the proper molecular key. Vesha's eyes widened. Unless you account for the crystal's reaction to biological signatures. In standard, please. Kelvorian temporal crystals resonate with specific pheromones. During our mating season, we produce compounds that interact with the crystal's quantum state. It's how we synchronize our reproduction cycles across vast distances. Her skin flushed embarrassed pink. Very romantic, actually. And this helps us how? Vesha turned to face him, her expression suddenly serious. Human pheromones are different. You produce them constantly, not seasonally. The crystals might react to your biochemistry in unexpected ways. If we can trigger a resonance cascade, it could disrupt the timing mechanism. Damon stared at her. You want to defeat bombs with human body chemistry? Essentially, yes. That's insane. It's also our only option with 16 minutes remaining. Damon ran a hand through his hair. What do I need to do? Get closer. The crystals respond to proximity and concentration of pheromones. Your continuous biochemical activity should create interference patterns. She paused. You might need to increase your pheromone output. How exactly do I do that? Vesha's skin cycled through several colors before settling on determined orange. Humans produce elevated pheromones during heightened emotional states. Fear, anger, physical exertion. She hesitated. Attraction. You're kidding. I'm not. Your research indicates pheromone spikes during romantic or sexual interest. It's one of the reasons I've been asking so many questions. Human biochemical volatility is scientifically remarkable. Damon looked at the bombs, then at Vesha, then back at the bombs. So you're saying I need to be attracted to something to save the station? Preferably to someone, Vesha corrected. Pheromone production is stronger with a specific target. They stared at each other. Vesha's skin went through an entire rainbow of emotions, finally settling on hopeful yellow. This is the weirdest day of my life, Damon muttered. He stepped closer to the first bomb, then closer to Vesha. Okay, let's science this out. Think about attraction, Vesha coached, pulling out a handheld scanner. Visualize desirable traits. Physical appeal. Intellectual compatibility. Shared interests. You're basically asking me to flirt with bombs. With me, technically. The bombs just benefit from the biochemical overflow. She checked her scanner. It's working. I'm detecting pheromone elevation. Keep going. Damon looked at her, really looked at her. The curious tilt of her head. The way her skin shifted colors with every emotion, utterly unable to hide what she felt. The absolute fearlessness with which she'd stayed by his side through everything. You're completely ridiculous, he said. You know that? Her skin brightened. Elaborate. We're being shot at by pirates. The station's about to explode, and you're conducting a reproductive biology study. Is this human courtship? Vesha asked, leaning closer. The playful criticism that masks genuine affection? Maybe. Fascinating. She checked her scanner again. Pheromone levels increasing. The crystals are definitely reacting. Move to the next device. They went from bomb to bomb, Damon maintaining proximity while Vesha monitored the crystalline structures. With each device, the countdown stuttered, numbers flickering erratically. Your species is remarkable, Vesha said softly as they approached the final bomb. You face extinction-level threats and respond with humor, creativity, and biochemical warfare via emotional manipulation. We prefer to call it being human. I'd like to study that more. Her skin flushed deep blue. Being human. With you. If you're willing to be an ongoing research subject. Damon found himself smiling. That might be the strangest relationship proposal I've ever gotten. Is it working? The final bomb's countdown hit 0, flickered, and died. All 6 devices shut down simultaneously, their crystalline cores going dark. Yeah, Damon said. It's working. The door burst open, and Captain Moore rushed in with a security team. Followed by Lieutenant Parks and Ambassador Rin, they stopped short. Taking in the scene, Damon and Nesha standing very close together, surrounded by deactivated explosives, both looking slightly dazed. Someone want to explain what happened here? Moore demanded. Quantum resonance cascade induced by human pheromone interference with Calvorian temporal crystals, Vesha said promptly. Also, I believe I'm dating this human now. For research purposes. Ambassador Rin's skin cycled through at least 7 shades of shock. Vesha, you can't just announce a romantic relationship as a scientific experiment. Why not? That's essentially what it is. She turned to Damon. Unless you object to being studied? Depends on the research methodology, Damon said, unable to keep the grin off his face. Parks laughed. Man, only you could save a station by weaponizing your love life. 3 days later, in a much calmer conference room, the trade negotiations resumed. This time, however, there was an additional clause in the agreement. A cultural exchange program between humans and Calvorians, focusing on biological and social research. Vesha presented her initial findings to both delegations. Her report titled Continuous Biological Availability and Its Impact on Human Social Structures, a Comprehensive Study. The Calvorians listened with fascinated horror. The humans tried very hard not to laugh. In conclusion, Vesha said, her skin bright with academic pride, humans are perhaps the most biologically ambitious species we've encountered. They've built entire civilizations while managing biochemical drives that would destroy most species. Their capacity for emotional regulation, social bonding, and creative problem-solving under pressure is unmatched. Ambassador Rin cleared his throat. And your recommendation for future human-Calvorian interactions? Extensive cultural liaison programs. Starting with myself. I've requested a permanent assignment to human stations for continued research. She glanced at Damon. My primary research subject has agreed to provide ongoing data. Under protest, Damon added. Oh, his smile said otherwise. Noted and logged. Desha replied primly. The trade agreement was signed. The Kelvorians left with grain shipments and a newfound respect for human biology. Desha stayed behind, her quarters already filling with books, scanners, and research notes. You know, Damon said that evening, finding her on the observation deck watching ships come and go. Most people just go on normal dates. But you're not most people, Desha said, her skin glowing soft gold in the starlight. You're a human. Always ready, always adapting, always surprising me. Is that your scientific opinion? It's my personal one. She took his hand, her skin warm against his. Though I'll probably write a paper about it anyway. Wouldn't expect anything less. They stood together, human and Kelvorian, watching the stars. Behind them, Station Meridian hummed with life, full of species learning to understand each other, one awkward question at a time. And somewhere in the station's archives, Desha's research report was already becoming legendary among xenobiologists. The study that proved humans were either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most biologically reckless, possibly both.